Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dev Section Group Conversation. Today is September 15th, 2020, and there are a few comments from Anoop in the agenda doc, but I don't believe that he is here. So I'm going to go ahead and verbalize those for him. The first comment he has is a welcome to Larissa, Matt, Yulian, and Serena to the team. I would also second that. The next comment Anoop has is just a kudos to the team on the great work so far with the performance indicators, also seconded. And then the third one is where we start to get into some questions. So Anoop writes, I'm not sure I can interpret the progress on UX OKRs. Are we on track?
Yeah, would you like me to verbalize my answer?
Yeah, that would be great, Mike.
Okay. First of all, it's a good question. This OKR about dog fooding plan and combining that with the UX OKR, UX department OKR about iteration. We had some initial ideas about how to dog food plan in order to improve iteration on UX and validation type work, to improve how iterative we are. And we only recently landed on the idea that we could dog food the iteration capability, and had a bit of, I guess, some different ideas about how to measure that. And we finally settled on a way to measure it. And so we should start seeing progress this week in terms of the ability to see the progress on the OKR in the issue. And I think, Patrick, you have an additional
comment. Yeah, so I wasn't sure. I'm sorry, Anoop, if you're not, since you're not here, I wasn't 100% on what the question was, but as far as our pajamas OKRs, we have a ton of component migrations that we're doing. There's a dashboard where you can see the collection of the 8 components and the progress that's happening. We've made a ton of progress on the button migrations, which is a huge piece of it. It was the majority of the volume of work, not necessarily the difficulty of it. So we've made a ton of progress on that, but there's still a long way to go. So just as a constant reminder, please everyone help pitch in. All of our teams are really going to need to dig into this to make progress. We've made a ton of progress so far. Thank you for that. But there's still so much to go. And this is only the beginning. A reminder that this is 8 of 38 components that we're working on today. So this is going to be a continual battle that we'll have to take on for a while.
Thanks for that, Patrick. Hopefully that answers the question, and I'm assuming Anoop can follow up if we haven't. The fourth question is also from Anoop. The question, I'll just go ahead and read it out loud, is that the subgroups category maturity scorecard, do we have any early findings to share? Does the team typically wait for all the interviews and information before actioning on identified improvements? Mike, I think I'll throw that one over to you as well.
Thank you. Yes, when we perform a category maturity scorecard process, what comes out of this process are often recordings of participants using the product. And we're often very excited to share those recordings with the team, even before we have synthesized or derived insights. I think so far we've come out of the recruiting of participants phase for this. So I don't believe we have any recordings to share yet. And we often will even identify existing issues from the feedback from participants, tag them with CM Scorecard Rec, and additionally maybe make new issues as well, even as the validation continues. And of course, the outcome of the validation is that we have a category maturity score that's more objective. And we hope to finish this by the end of September, by the end of this month. One reason is because there's a simplified projects and groups working group. And we believe the findings from this subgroups validation will inform that working group. So we're excited to perform this process with subgroups. And I think we're going to learn a lot about how customers and users currently experience how groups work in GitLab.
Great, thank you, Mike. And the last question I'll read from Anoop is, our largest customer and a largest prospect in a Q3 deal have both run into an LFS import issue. Would be great to provide the team with some insights on our plans here. And he linked out to an issue. Harris, looks like you've got some comments here.
Yeah, we are currently looking into what it would take to get this feature implemented. This is, it appears something that a feature that we did not have until now. So LFS was not implemented in the Bitbucket server. So we need to kind of get an understanding for what it would take to get it implemented. And once we have that estimate, hopefully within a week or so, we should be able to kind of match that with our current plans and see how we can get it done. So this is a priority, but it's going to take us about a week or so to get a plan in place. There's a workaround for this that I know at least one of the customers that is in question will not be able to use because they also want to migrate the issues. But the workaround would be to use the importer by URL, which would migrate the repo with LFS, but it would leave the issues behind. So that's the current state of the affairs. Any thoughts or questions from the team? Cool.
Thank you for the update, Harris. Kristen, you've got the next one.
Yeah, just looking at slide 11, it looks like the engineering team has made a lot of improvements already to the app. I'm just wondering if you could talk through those changes.
Very happy to do that. Yes, we had a huge focus already over the whole quarter so far on performance. The nice thing is really that we, on one hand, as said also in the last group conversation, is that still 50% of all the performance improvements that we do are on a global level rather than on a specific route level. So improving a specific route, and we have picked those 5 routes, which are the 5 most used ones. To improve those, we need to work on other stuff, which is more global, which is nice because this helps in reality all routes. This helps everyone across the board. We have a lot of huge initiatives going on. We have the icons reduction, so really getting rid of Font Awesome so that we get that out of the system, where Martin Wojcik is working on as the DRI. We have Sean being the DRI for splitting up the page-specific CSS. To make it really simple, we have piled up a huge mountain of CSS over the years, and everyone was just throwing on more CSS on that big mountain, and now we're basically just loading the different parts on each of the different routes that is specific to that stuff, replacing with the Pajama components, replacing with utility libraries, and that is like, I think the icons has 160 issues, the page-specific stuff has 60 issues. So we are really working through a huge chunk of work and making progress there on the different things. A classic one, everyone who has been to web development, jQuery, still a big part in our core code base, is also something we are constantly working through by picking away things that are still used by jQuery and where we still have it integrated, and replace it also with Pajama components. A huge thing that really worked nicely and that is currently in the activation phase is the startup CSS, which is a technique which takes the most critical CSS, because this was the bigger problem, is that we have a huge mountain, and this basically picks just the items out of it to render the menu on top, on the side, as fast as possible. So this means really that we have on the screen something. Before that, it needed to initialize this huge mountain. It took a second, and now it takes around 100 milliseconds until we can paint the first thing. And the other thing is huge pile of JavaScript, and that is also being greatly reduced at the moment, and really with the help of everyone involved. And the big next step after that will be also getting the know-how out and really improving on the level of all the individual teams, as we are getting more and more into specific routes, which also will include that we will do an end-user performance call quite soon, where product will be also invited, where we simply share know-how, what tools are available at GitLab, that we do pairing. The idea is to bring your own route. So everyone, each team can simply bring their own route. We take a look at it together and see what we can improve, like biggest impact with the lowest effort. And yeah, and we keep churning away.
Thanks, that's awesome.
Okay, I don't see any more questions on the list. So if anyone has one, feel free to just go ahead and verbalize it. We can type it out later. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for your time. We'll call it and give you some time back.